So you have to create your own way of expressing yourself, which means being creative. So we'd create games and things that didn't require money or anything. We'd use our minds and be creative. And I remember I used to love, my dad was in the music industry, so was my mum used to be a singer, my sister was a DJ. So I remember my first thing I done was, I said when I was about 8 years old, I'm going to put on my own concert and sell tickets for £1 to all the parents in the area. And I'm going to do the concert in my friend's front garden. And we got paper, and this is being creative. We got paper and we started writing out our tickets, and we say, do you want to buy a ticket to our concert, our live show? It starts at this time. And we'd put on a performance. And we might have made like about £11. And that was like, wow, this is a good business. Now, from there, throughout my school years, I was always at the forefront. When it was a school play, a nativity play, I would always get picked to play the lead role. But I wasn't raised as a Muslim. And then in 1998, the BBC was doing a film called Storm Damage. And it was the first film of its kind where it was like focused on urban life. Whereas prior to this, there wasn't many films like that. You didn't see people that represent someone like myself, like people of color on TV regular, unless it was in America. So when I heard about this film, my mum got excited, and it wasn't just because of, oh, you can be on TV. This was our way out of poverty. We can make some money. So my mum took me down to the audition at the BBC in White City. And when we got there, I had to audition to be in this film. I got through the audition process. I was 15 years old. And then it was like 3 months going back, auditions, until the day come. We was in Brixton Market, and they called my mum and said, yeah, I didn't have an agent. I never had no experience. Only thing I had done before was school plays and church plays. And they said, yeah, he got the part. So that was my first role. And it was a big budget film. So my first experience on a film set was this film. And it's like...
Top of the top.
Yeah, so it's like we didn't start off like, let's do amateur filmmaking and make our way up, or let me start off on YouTube. YouTube didn't even exist then. So my first experience of filming was things like, okay, I'll start on this day. They send a car to pick you up. So I'm like, wow, I've got my own driver, and it's S-Class Mercedes. And then the driver will take us to the film set, and you have a runner. And your runner, so I'm learning things like, wow, you have a runner. And the runner brings me to my room, which is like a Winnebago, like a caravan. So you've got your own room, and it's got my name on the door. And I go in there, and they say the wardrobe department comes, knocks on the door, starts showing me all these outfits I'm gonna wear. And then after wardrobe department comes, the runner comes and knocks on the door and say, Ashley, you wanted in makeup? I'm saying, makeup? So I go to a makeup room, and they start putting all this de-shine on my face, because when you're on camera, you're gonna glow and shine. You need to like make it more matte. And then after that, they give me the call sheet of the day, the running sheet of the day, what we're doing, the sides. And I can see I'm in the third scene of the day. So I start looking through my script, my lines, and then they call me to set. And then when they bring me around to set, it was like, you realize, wow, this is how a film is made. There's like about 50 people running around. You've got the set designers putting all the flowers down, puffing the cushions before each take. Then you've got this guy with a big boom, he's doing the sound. And then you've got another guy with headphones, he's recording the sound. And then I saw people around the camera, the DOP, and we're shooting on film then. And he had like at least 3 people around him. Another guy was pulling focus. And then you've got the director, and the director's got someone next to him who's the script supervisor doing continuity. And then you've got someone taking still photographs, and then the wardrobe assistants are coming and saying, can I fix your top before the take?
How was that though? How was that being thrown in the deep end like that straight away, bro?
Do you know, it was overwhelming, but it was exciting. Because I'm saying, wow, this is a big deal. And it's very different from being on a council estate. I'm around people of different nation, people of different color now, like people that I wouldn't usually bump shoulders with. And like Adrian Lester was in that film. Ashley Waters was in that film. Mona Hammond. It was directed by Simon Kellan-Jones. Look him up and you'll see who this director is. He directs things like Ballers. And so I was mixing with like some, Lenny James was in it. So I was mixing with some big British stars. And I think how I benefited is because I didn't know the magnitude of it. So I was just, yeah, this is fun. And I'll do my take. And then after every take, it was reset. Everyone rushes back in, fix the cushions again, fix this again, da, da, da. So I was learning. I was taking a lot in. And that was the first time I'd done a film. And then straight after that, I'd done a theatre production. And then I went on to do many TV shows. But all of this is prior to me becoming even a Muslim. So that was how I would say my first experience of how I got into film initially.
Yeah. So going from there, so you've obviously gone from a young age. How old were you when you done? Obviously, we don't go into it, but for instance, like the first one was in 2000. You started in 95. So was that more like it was 5 years into your journey and you got thrown straight into the deep end? And it must have been hard like at the start because like I can't even imagine. I've only worked on small kind of projects. To work on something like that as a young boy as well, to go into like the big stars, the big the big lights and the big cameras and stuff like that. SubhanAllah, must have been difficult. But then going back onto like how you do your films and the things you've created as of late as a being Muslim, what have you taken from the past in terms of the big films, the big lights, the big cameras? What have you taken from that and kind of implemented into your own realm in terms of the Muslims or even your own projects, whether it be Muslim or not?
So for me, I only knew one way because every production I was on was a big production.
Yeah.
And then when I became a Muslim, initially I left the film industry because I said, this industry, films and all of that, it's not for me. And, I was focusing on my religion. I went to Egypt. And then it's like, financially, I started hitting obstacles like, how am I going to pay for rent, cost of living? And I had no other skill set. I went straight into film as soon as I left school. So I got back in the film industry. I was just fussy after a 7-year break. But I was just fussy now about what films I would do. So I was always getting picked to play a gangster, like a young street boy. So I'd done many projects, many films, many TV shows. And they were all of high £1 million budget, £2 million budget. It was all of top end quality. And I was always playing this like gangster, the street guy. And then I think I got to a stage where I was saying like, I want to control the narrative a bit more. As a Muslim, I had a different mindset. And I was like, we need to guide the youth. Like, if I keep playing these street boys and glamorizing violence and all of that, how are we leading the next generation? And is this going to be upon me? So I wanted to kind of like control a bit more narrative. So I started writing my own film. And I could write a script because I've seen over 50 scripts as an actor. And I remember I was doing the bill for ITV at the time. I was going down to set every day. And I got close with the director. I was close with the DOP and the first AD. And the bill was getting axed from ITV. It's no longer going to be on ITV. They've axed the show. So I said to everyone, what's everyone doing this summer? I've just wrote a script. The bill's been axed from ITV. I want to hire everyone because you're going to be out without a job. And the director said, send it to me. I'd love to have a read. So I sent it to the director. And then he called me and he said he loves the script. How much budget have I got to shoot this film? Yeah. So I said, look, I could probably round up about 40 grand. And it was like, how are we going to shoot a feature film on that? Like, that would just about pay for the lunch. This is how it is. Because we only know big. These people are been in TV for like 20 years. So I said, look, what about if we pay all the head of departments, the HODs, we could just do a deal where it's like £500 a week. And then everyone other than them is like assistants, just up and coming on expenses. But at least if every head of department knows their job, then I don't mind if they're assistants of like just come out of university, at least unexperienced. And a lot of people in the film industry would rather be working than not working. So, you know, like a lot of people, if they think they believe in the project, it's a good film, they'll take the job. So he said he's up for it, and the DOP said he's up for it, and the first AD said they're up for it. So myself and my friend Buck, Michael Barris, we wrote the film together. We hired the director. So for me, what I learned is I only knew how to do things the proper way because I never came from no other way. So we got a proper line producer. So it wasn't like I could write a script and just get my friends to shoot it. I was always going about things the way a big production's done because that's all I knew. So I got my line producer and we had to pre-produce. I got a casting director and we done it the way it was done for TV. And in the end, we got good results from it. It was a film called Victim. I got my first distribution deal on that. Oh. And then I sold it to Sky Movies Premiere. I sold it to Netflix. I sold it to many airlines, eventually to Amazon, because everyone has a period. When you sell it to different regions, they have a contract. It might be for 24 months. It might be for this. And then you can sell it again and again and again. That's how distribution goes.
So in that film, you use a mixture of everything then? You use like the writer, the actor.
So I was the writer. I wasn't meant to be the actor in that first film because I wrote it for. I actually wanted Ashley Waters to play the lead, and he agreed. He was up for it. And then last minute, he got a job in South Africa, and the money they were paying him, he just had an honest conversation with us and was like, "I got to take this job." We weren't really paying like that, so it was like, "No, we understand. Go do your thing." So then it was like we have to audition other people to play the role, and the director said, "Ash, come on, you got to play it." And I was like, "Nah, I don't want to play it because," and this was the first conflict with my faith and film, because I said, it's got a romance story in there and I can't do that. And they were like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Because of my religion, I can't do the romance scenes." I said, "Oh, come on, I know many Muslims who are actors. Come on, Ashley." And I said, "No, I can't do it." And they said, "What do you mean? What can't you do?" And then I looked through the whole script and I said, "Look, if we remove this, and this, I can do it." And they said, "It's going to be difficult. How can we have a story, because it's kind of like a love story, in a film without showing any physical touch?" And I was like, "Well, I can't do it if there's any physical touch." So we ended up coming to an agreement and we said, "You know what, let's do it. Let's do it." So that's when I decided I'll play the role. And we shot the film. And then I remember it being reviewed I was watching Film 4 and they were reviewing the film. And they said, "One thing I love about this movie is in that whole romance story, you never saw no scenes of sexual nature. You never saw," and and they were like, "Sometimes we feel like films just throw those scenes in and it's like a bit, we didn't need that." And it's like, where do we look? And I love how they didn't do that in this film. It was really powerful. And I said, "Look at that. Alhamdulillah."
So would you say the writing you done in that film, did that influence your kind of like your music side of things as well? Like you're creatively, you've always written stuff and wanted, you've got the whole spoken word aspect of things and the whole music back in the day and that kind of stuff. How did that influence your kind of breaking into now the nasheed side of things and the spoken word aspect? Did that influence that, or was it completely separate?
No, so with creativity, it's about expressing yourself.
Yeah.
So you can express yourself by art, by drawing, painting a picture, through visual, or through audio. Like, so for me, I had a story to tell. And you can tell that story in many ways. The easiest way for me to tell my story was either visually or through my poetry, So I was just balancing the two. I never had no intention, to be honest, of being a Muslim poet or nasheed artist. I was just, from young, someone who could do that, like rap or come up, tell stories through poetry. And after my conversion, when I came back to the UK from Egypt, it was the Imam in the masjid that said to me, "Can you talk to them about your story of why you went there? And, you was in the film industry, you was doing this and that, and you become a Muslim. And now you went in Egypt and now you've come back. Can you talk to the youngsters about that journey?" And initially I said no. I said no, because I felt like when I became a Muslim, it was me kind of finding a peaceful life. Prior to Islam, life was a bit more hectic and I was on TV and it was all of that. So I felt like I found peace in religion. The last thing I want to do is get back on the stage,
back on the stage, yeah,
and start being this person, this icon again now as a Muslim. So initially I said no. But then the Imam, I respect him so much. He's linked arms with me, and I kind of got forced the first time. He just said, no, 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 you're doing it. Come, come, come. And he said, everyone, this is Brother Muslim Bilal. He's going to tell you his story. Da, da, da. And I was like, oh.
Is that where the name came from? Is that where the name
No,
started?
no, so I chose that name when I took my Shahada.
Oh, okay. No, but as
I
the name like Muslim Bilal, as the
it
visual.
was just my name I chose when I became Muslim.
Oh,
because I looked through the book and I saw all these names like Talib and Sufyan, and they said, pick a name with a good meaning. So I saw the name Muslim in the book. And when I saw the name Muslim, I said, oh, is that a name? Can I have that? Because it meant one who surrenders themselves to Allah.
Yeah.
So they said, yeah, you can have it as a name. So I said, well, that's the name I want, because that's what I want to do, surrender myself to Allah. So then the other brother said to me, but I have a name for you already, Bilal. And when he was saying, I want you to be called Belal, I was saying, I want the name Muslim. I said, can I have both? And he said, yes. And he said, okay, from now we call you Belal Muslim. I said, no, I'm taking Muslim first. So call me Muslim Bilal. So that's how the name came when I took my Shahada. And then, yeah, it was like, so the poetry, it was like, I was just asked to do it, asked to tell my story. And it was like, if you can twist my arm, I'll come and I'll tell my story and I'll do poetry. But film was always my main craft.
Yeah.
And then the poetry, they'll twist my arm. Okay, I'll go and tell my story. But I never took it seriously. That's why many Nasheed artists used to say to me, we're surprised you don't have no videos, no music videos. You're a film person. How come you ain't got loads of videos on YouTube channel and stuff? And I was like, nah, it's just a hobby. Like, I just do it if someone asks me, but I don't need to, I don't want to be, I used to have this thing, there's no superstars within religion. Like, I don't want to be a Muslim superstar. Like, I don't want to be like, check out my videos and this, that. Like, if they ask me to tell my story, I'll tell my story, but I don't want it to be over any noise around it. So that's why initially I never had any videos or anything. But yeah, what I did learn was is that professionalism, that when I'm doing something, like if I was making a film, or I would do it with excellence. Like I wouldn't just call a friend with a camera. I would always go about things like the way a film production's done.
Yeah.
Because that's all I knew.
So going into kind of like so we've spoken a little bit about your journey into film and your creativity and stuff like that, into the nasheed and spoken word aspect. Kind of, so you're saying from the films that you've done, you've always implemented this mentality, and as a Muslim, it's a great thing as well to, do things to the best of your ability. So looking now at the Muslim world, at the Muslim film world, what would your take be in terms of how it is at this moment in time, and would you say there's a demand and a need for it, for kind of Muslim tailored films that can maybe bring people back to Allah and not really having too much of fitna in there? What would your kind of aspect, or your perspective be on that?
I would say I think there's a huge need for it, because you're either gonna, if you want to learn something, there's only a few ways you can learn and taking information, and that's either like by reading something, listening to something, or watching something. Now, I think we're living in a time where media is so powerful. Giving them something to watch is important, and regardless, I'm always about creating alternatives, because regardless, people are going to watch something. Streaming net platforms are big right now. People are watching Netflix. Is there a new series to watch? People are watching these shows. People are watching Amazon and Disney Plus, and like everyone's watching a series or reality TV. But like each series, each story is pushing a narrative, is selling a certain dream. So it's important that we give an alternative to that we control the narrative. So, okay, if people are going to watch something anyway, let's give them something to watch that isn't poison. And that's going to give them, do you know what? I learned something from that. Have you seen? And I feel like we've been let down in regards to that, because the scene is there, but it's not supported. So there's might be loads of filmmakers, Muslim filmmakers or Muslim writers, script writers and stuff, but there's no system, there's no infrastructure. So what platforms do they go out on? We don't have any, like, as in, okay, we've got Islamic TV stations, but they're not investing in Muslim films and Muslim TV shows.
Yeah.
They're spending most of their time fundraising, or just people sitting on a sofa. People sitting on a sofa talking
head kind
about
of stuff, innit?
they're not investing in the creativity. So if you look at, they're not competing with BBC, Channel 4, Amazon, there's Disney. They're nowhere near competing. No one, when's the last time someone said, I've got to go home, have you seen that new series on Islam Channel? No one says that. And this is not a dig at them. This is not a dig at them. This is a reality check. We've got these channels.
It's a target audience, isn't it? Like nowadays with the power of social media, the internet, what the youth want, the demand. I think with the power of what we can produce, you know, as filmmakers, etc., it's at our fingertips. If we was to create something and put it online on YouTube, you can access so many people as opposed to them expecting.
Yeah, but there's no TV.
There's no system,
no support. Like I remember when I came to watch the film you was involved in, The Two Sides, and when I came to watch it, you see how many Muslims was there at the screening. There's like 600 youngsters dressed up. It gives them something to do. There's a film that represents us. And then when I watched the film and I say, what's the budget on this? Like, you lot had hardly any money whatsoever to make it. And if I was to ask you, who was your crew, your production crew? I come from film. You were telling me you was doing the light yourself. You was carrying the camera yourself. You was doing the focus yourself. You was doing the set design yourself. So wait there, you're going to carry a camera, film, and then if there's something he's moving, you're going to go to the bed and move it yourself. And then you're going to go over there and fix the light yourself. So there's no production team. So it shows me, wow, these things are not supported. But so there's no one behind supporting that Muslim creatives, but there's definitely an audience for it. Because when you screen the film, look how many Muslims came out. And if I'm going to tell my story, I've been telling my story for 20 years. And consistently to Muslim audience, I've been asked, can you come next week? Can you come next week? Whether it's in Holland, Sweden, Germany, Australia, South Africa, Malaysia. So there's an audience that wants to come out and hear a story. So imagine we had that visually. That means there's an audience all over the world that wants to watch these stories.
100%.
Look how many motivational, inspirational hadiths or stories of the prophets. There's so much things that could be turned into media.
Even in the Quran, bro, like the Quran.
There's so many stories.
But it's, you know what? You know, whenever you go to a khutbah, like even today, like I was just thinking, it's not as engaging as it, because usually when you listen to a khutbah, like, and they're telling a story, you're immersed, like you're in, like you're listening to that guy, and not like it, and it's so much easier to engage with that person. So I think, 100%.
I think there's a lack of support for these type of things, and there's definitely a need for it. And
so what do you say to the youngers now? The ones that are maybe aspiring to that goal. They want to maybe establish something like a production house, or, you know, start their filmmaking career, or, you know, they've got a camera, they've got a few friends, etc. What would your advice be to those youngers that are trying to make an impact?
See, the problem I've seen, and listen, when it comes to being creative, there's no wrong or right. So if you say something's wrong, then you're blocking their creativity. Like, being creative means doing whatever. So there's no wrong or right way of making a film. However, one thing I've noticed, the mistakes we make is when you're up and coming and as a filmmaker, is trying to do too much. So like, for example, some youngsters might have a DSLR camera and they want to make a film, they're creative, they're going to make some horror film or something. And I'm like, why? This is like, why do you want to, that they did, like, you've got to start somewhere. or they want to try and make a sci-fi. It's like you have to start somewhere. Start with like drama, because you don't have the budget to make a horror correct or a sci-fi. So I noticed a lot of young up and coming filmmakers, they might, or they do too much, as in doing too much work. So my thing is perfect your craft. So if you've got a camera and you want to shoot, like instead of trying to shoot a 15, 20-minute thing and you're rushing here, there, getting this person, that person, I would rather, like, for example, if someone gives me a 5K budget to shoot something, I'll say to myself, okay, I'm only going to shoot one day and at one location because it's only 5K. But I'm going to make and it's probably going to be 1 minute long. But what I'm going to shoot for that 1 minute is going to look like it can go on TV tomorrow. Yeah. Do you understand? So I'm going to use my 5K to say, all right, let me get great camera, great lenses, good producer, and I'm going to shoot 1 minute of excellence, which is better for me than to, with my 5K, try and shoot a 25-minute film for 8 days and everyone's running around and it's poorly made, you know? So I say, like, the main thing is like the process. Don't fear crawling before you walk and walking before you run. Don't try and just sprint straight away like, yeah, we're amateur filmmakers and we're going to shoot this horror movie. You know, like start with drama and perfect your craft, like the narrative, the drama, like and your shots and simple things that needs to be perfecting first, like just your framing and your shots and lighting and locations and stuff like that, and color palettes. You know, I see simple mistakes like the color palette changes a lot. Like me sitting now with a black t-shirt on, with a grayish white wall behind me, it's terrible for film. So I'm never going to shoot a film in this room. Like I would rather go somewhere where I say put on an orange jumper and have a wall that's painted green or something, and then we've put some lights in there. This is automatically going to look much more cinematic on your. So the color palettes is very important, you know. All these little things, perfect it first.
100%, 100%. We've got a few questions. So someone's asked, what is the biggest challenge you faced this year and how did you overcome it? Well, even in general, let's make it more general. What's the hardest thing you've experienced as a creative and how did you overcome it?
So one of the hardest things was, so when you get a budget for a film, I've been given different type of budgets to manage. So as a director, I might get given 10K to shoot a commercial, a short commercial. That's a responsibility on you because someone comes to you with their vision, their idea, and their money. And they trust in you to bring their vision and their idea to life. So if I get a 10K budget to shoot a commercial over 2 days, okay, cool. But when someone comes to you with £500,000, £500,000, with their idea, and I say, okay, cool, I'm going to take it on, then that's the biggest challenge. But I relish that challenge. But I've been in that situation a couple of times. Someone comes to me with a budget, £500,000 film idea, and now I've got to produce that whole film. So I've got to sign the right people. So the first person is, who am I going to get to produce it? So I get my producer, I say, you're producing it. This is the budget we've got. This is the film. And then I've got to look at this script, the idea, and then work with my producers, my DOP, to end up shooting that movie. And then first you go back to your investor and you show them the first locked picture. And it's the nerves of, this looks good, or you just wasted £500,000.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big challenge, but I believe in myself. So I take the money, and alhamdulillah, anytime I've gone back to an investor or gone back, it's been like, wow, this is brilliant. It looks like. So that's the big challenge though, that pressure of directing. Because when you're directing, it's not just about how creative you are. you're facing massive challenges every day because it's like someone's not turned up to set, someone's late. We've only got an hour left at this location. Then we have to move on. They're saying they're closing the gate. We have to go somewhere else now and shoot. But we've got a schedule we're on, and that schedule's every day for the next 5 weeks. We can't afford to lose time today. Someone's not like, so you're facing challenges every day. So I think every day on a feature film set is a challenge. And it's not just about how creative you are. It's about how you manage people, how you manage time, and how you manage the budget. That is very, very important because sometimes I want to get creative and I might say, I want to light the room like this. I want it to be like that. I want the actors to come in and do this. But then my first AD would tell me, we've only got 1 hour here. And my lighting team are saying, for what I want, they need 2 hours at least just to set up. So this is a challenge now.
Yeah.
How am I going to do this? Whereas if I'm on set, friend of mine, Will, directed Top Boy, and he gets like 5 hours to set up. And because they're not racing against the clock because they've got a bigger budget, they can shoot for more days. Because each day is your budget. So that's the biggest challenges I've faced. And then when the film's complete, it's that getting it out, finding distribution for the film, getting knockbacks. Because some distributors will say, a lot of the films I've made of recent have all got an Islamic message in them subtly. And I realized, I would say that's the biggest challenge, honestly, because I realized distributors and buyers and networks are not as interested in buying films with that kind of message in them. They would rather buy films where we're just shooting each other or selling drugs. So since I've made films, the last 3 films I've made have all got a subtle Islamic message. I've found that I'm struggling with distribution. Whereas when I made certain films, we didn't struggle with distribution and the message was not even great. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that's a big challenge.
What do you say that issue is? It's the consumers. So their goal is more to kind of...
I think they feel like it's a business film, innit? So they feel like, is there a market for this? They don't understand the market. So I might say, trust me, there is. Like, there's how much Muslims in the world. If they see this film out, everyone's going to go and watch it. They like, you know, kids want to see this and kids want to see that, especially if it ain't got no music in there as well. They're like, you know, people love this, and they don't see it as good business. And this is why it's more disappointing that our own networks ain't supporting us, because we understand the market. I know for a fact, if I put a Muslim film out tomorrow in the cinemas, Odeon, View, and the Muslims see that message in that film, the cinemas are going to be packed.
Packed out, 100%.
But the distributors and that don't understand that well. Because it's not, and so that's why it's a bit disappointing when I see the Muslim networks, the people with power. Why don't we have our own infrastructure, our own system, where we're supporting these films, we're distributing them, you know, we're putting them on our own networks. So that's a big challenge as well.
No, I completely agree, bro. I completely agree. You know, building up to, so going back to your films, leading up to a production, how is it kind of for you as a director? Do you get involved in everything from like, you know, the scripts, from how everything's going to look from every shot, all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I get involved in everything because first I'll look at the script, the draft, and then I'll give my notes because I'll know what I'm capable of shooting to what I'm not capable of shooting. So there might be certain scenes in a film where I know in order for me to do that and execute that right, I'm going to need hours. Like, so we can only have so much scenes like that in the film, you know? And so the first thing I would say is I look at the number of pages of the script. So if a script is, let's say, 60 pages, I know that's 60 minutes. It's like a page a minute. Now, I know as a director with my crew, the way we set up and do things, a proper production, we're not going to get through more than 5-6 pages per day. So if I'm doing a 60-page script, I'm going to need at least 12 days to film that. Yeah? So if I need 12 days filming, so that's why I check what the script is. And that's if the scenes ain't crazy. If there's a scene where it says a car crashes and this happens and that, then I know I might need an extra day just to work on that scene.
Yeah.
So I need to make sure from script level, it's not too manic and everything's doable. Then I'll break down the days. All right, 60 pages, we need to shoot that in 12 days. We can get through about 5 pages per day. Now, then I will say to myself, with regards to production and budget, it's going to cost us at least eight, 9 grand per day. Depend if we go kind of low budget, but a good crew and a good team. So then I know I need at least 100 grand to shoot this, at least. So that's how I kind of work it out. And that's why I'm involved from the beginning. Now, but this is, bear in mind, this is shooting with a full crew, which is because obviously I come in like that. So you're using an ARRI camera, proper lenses. You've got around your camera, you've got at least 3 people, a first AC pulling focus, a second AC, a third AC, then you've got a this and that. That's what's going to come up to, because everyone's on per day. Now, if you're in up and coming level and you're shooting on the DSLR, you can get a lot more done because setups don't take long. So I noticed this, you can do so much more because it's just switching on the camera, changing the lenses quick, and you can literally shoot fast. So the setups is a lot quicker like that. So the way that would run is a lot different. But I would still take as much time in pre-production and
The
in the
post-production.
planning. Yeah, because for me, the better you produce the film, the better shoot you're going to have, because everything's already been organized. You've already scouted all your locations. You already know, you've already designed all your looks. You've already rehearsed with all your actors. You've already pre-produced the film. You've already scheduled your shoot, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. So you've got a proper schedule. Everything's planned. And then you've got a first AD who, so even if I was shooting on DSLR, I'd still have all of this, where you know, okay, first location, we're going to spend 3 hours there. Second, then we're going to this location, and you arrange your days where everything's close to each other. So you're not like, oh, let's shoot that first scene at my friend's chicken shop in Wembley, and then, we got to go to my friend's apartment. He gave us his house. He lives in Croydon, and then you're driving that. So you arrange your shoot where you shoot everything in that area on one day. The next day you might be based somewhere else. So the planning is the biggest thing for me, so that you have a smooth shoot and you can just focus on the creativity and not focus on problems.
That's one thing I learned from you, bro. When we done our shoots, is the whole keeping things close by to each other. Like, I've experienced shoots where I'm thinking, yeah, I've got everything planned out in my head in terms of shots, location, people, but then I didn't think about time consuming, how things can easily take out your time, especially when you're living in London and you're traveling from A to B. You could miss hours of daylight.
And what you got to do is you got to think of your actors, your crew. You'll end up having everyone from 9 in the morning till 10, 11, 12 at night, still going. And this is actually not even legal. You're only meant to shoot for you're only allowed a 12-hour day, and that's including their time to get in and go home.
Go home, yeah.
So I think the planning is important. So for me, in one day, I will never, every location has to be within 2 minutes of each other. Someone could tell me, I've got an amazing restaurant that my friend said we can use. If they tell me it's in Twickenham and we're shooting in South London, I'd just say, it don't matter how amazing it is to us. We're either shooting in South or we're shooting in West. West. And if you're going to shoot, so what I do first is the location that means the most to me, that I care about the most, I find that location first. And then wherever that is, that's when we'll find all the other locations around it. So say like you're doing a shoot and the main location is the dad's house. Find the dad's house first that you're happy with. Don't matter where it is. And then once you found his house and it's amazing, then you say, right, all the other locations in my script, we've got to look around that area of the dad's house for those locations. We need a chicken shop, we need a park, we need a bench, we need and you find it all around that main location. And then you can go, and that's when you can start scheduling your shoot.
So, bro, we're going to go last little bits now, your last few questions. So now we're going to go into being a creative and being a supporting network. So when you started as a Muslim creative, as you obviously you was a creative first before you was Muslim. how was it when you transitioned into, the world of being a Muslim and a creative? Did you know many creatives at that time, or was you kind of like a one-man soldier? Like that's why you kind of resort to maybe using the non-Muslims for filming things, etc. How important would you say it is to be a part of like a group of friends who are maybe creatives and you can support each other with ideas, maybe from a young person's perspective? Obviously, a little bit older is a little bit
I
different.
think it's important, but I found like, do you want me to be honest? When I got into the Muslim world, and by the time I was doing stuff in the Muslim world, it was like the Muslim creatives I knew, I was quite surprised about how they operate because I feel like it was a different world. And let me give you an example. So I've been shooting in the mainstream industry with non-Muslim DOPs with experience. He's worked on this and that. And I could phone my DOP, Tom, and be like, look, I got a shoot tomorrow. This is the budget. And we'll do a shoot. And he could invoice me £300 a day. That's his day rate. A first AC, or it might be 500 a day, or a first AC might be 350 a day, and then certain DOP 150 a day, and then so it was just normal like that, yeah. And then I came across Muslim creatives, like not the Muslim creatives, but like people in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Islamic
yeah, yeah.
world, and I see like a young guy, 19 years old, got a DSLR, maybe a Canon or a Sony, and I'll be like, I like what you're doing. Let me bring you out and let's do something. Da, da, da. He's like, yeah, I charge 1,000 a day. I was like, huh? £1,000 per day? Where? And the thing, what it was is, yeah, he's like, yeah, that's what I charge. Like, that's what I do. Da, 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 da. I've got my own. And I was thinking, I've seen your level of production. You're not like a filmmaker. You're not there yet.
Not there. Yeah.
Why do you charge 1,000 a day? But what it is he might have done someone's wedding and they paid him £1,000.
Yeah, the
And then
different.
he done someone
Different.
else's wedding, and they paid, and he said, "Yeah, I'll charge 1,000." And if you're doing a wedding and your budget for your wedding is like, these people pay 50 grand, 60 grand on their whole wedding, 1,000 for the videographer is nothing. You add that, or he might have done someone's event, and it's like, yeah, we need it. So you're filming an event, all right, £1,000. Or it might be an Islamic brand that needed a commercial for the day, and they pay £1,000. I get it. So now what you've done is you've created that as your day rate. You have to know your market. That's not a day rate.
100%. 100%.
If you're coming into the film world, you can't say you're £1,000 a day DOP. That's not the market. So I was kind of taken aback by that because I was like, okay. I was like, I've been working with DOPs that are working on that, and they're not telling me £1,000 a day rate. So I think the lines got blurred in the Muslim world and I was saying like, okay, and how I put that as being a creative is, that's like me. I might get a call from a big Islamic event, and they say, we want you to come and perform. We've got Omar Suleiman coming down. We've got this person. We've got this person, Yahya Ibrahim. Da, 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 da. We'll pay you $2,000. All right, it's a big event. So I'll go there and get $2,000. Then Murtaza Khan calls me and says, Muslim Belal, can you come down to Masjid Humaira next week and give a talk? Yeah, I charge $2,000, Chef.
Yeah, impossible.
Impossible. So this is just because, like, do you understand? So you have to understand the market.
Yeah,
like,
100%. 100%.
If I'm going to a local masjid to give a talk, I can't charge them 2,000. But if I'm going to a big event like a conference, do you understand? Or if and then a university might say, Bilal, are you free next week to come to our university and speak? I'm not going to say to a university 2,000. They're going to say, what? But then when ISNA in Canada is doing their big thing and they say, I might charge the university 400, 500 pounds, 300 pounds, the masjid, do you understand? 200 pounds. Give me whatever you got. What can you afford, shit? Like, if a big conference in Canada say we want to book you, and I say, yeah, 500 pounds, they're going to be like, that's way too low.
Yeah.
So you have to understand the market as well. And
Would you
as
say,
creators, I think that's something that needs to be done.
100%. Would you say, sorry to interrupt, bro, would you say, it's also a lack of understanding and opportunity as well? Because like you said, you could go to a wedding, there's so many wedding videographers, etc. But there's only so many productions you can be a part with that maybe you won't charge as much, but what you'll get from it will be way bigger than you would for just doing someone's wedding. You 100%. Might go to a shoot and meet a gaffer who's working next week on Star Wars, or you might have a gaffer, do you know what I'm saying? So I think
And that's
it's
how the film industry works, by the way. So the whole film industry works off of your, it's almost off of your character. So you see, when you're in the film industry, when you're on a shoot, usually you're on a shoot for 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Now, how you will get your next job is people remember your manners. That person was, everyone's skilled and got talent, but it was all about, oh, I love that gaffer. He was such a nice guy. I want to book him for my next job. So your manners and your character that's how people, so every time a director moves on to a next job, he thinks of the people he liked on his last job. Because it has to be like a family. When you're working with people 10 hours a day, your characters is what matters. It has to feel like these are your family. You're with them all day,
100%.
every day, for weeks. So I realized that that's how a lot of people get jobs. Like whether you're the wardrobe person, whether you're the this, you're the that, it's usually off of how was their character. So you don't know who you're going to be around when you're on a set. And if people like you and you've got a talent, then you're going to get a call for something else. It's a domino effect. You're going to get a call. What are you doing? You know, I brought a young guy on a film set to help the sparks out with the lighting. He was 17. His mum said he's got problems. I brought him on the set. Then they liked him. They liked his energy. And then when they went on to their next film, nothing to do with me, they called him and said, come on the job. You know, so that's how it goes. It's all off of, that's where your credit is in your character and your manners.
Of course, 100%. We had another question. Any tips for filmmakers who have something like more of a lower budget? So let me read it properly. Any tips for filmmakers with a certain camera, like a more of a cheaper camera, but when I pulled up, when I asked for a certain amount of money, they were shocked. So I'm not too sure what the question is. Any tips for filmmakers, but when I pulled up, shocked, I asked more than. Yeah, because he's not got such a big camera or an expensive camera, and he's charged a certain amount of money, they were shocked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say, me personally? Yeah, go on. Sorry.
I think it depends, because when a person's giving money, usually that money should just go on the production. So I don't even need. So that's like, so if I give you money, you might be using that money to pay for everyone that's in your production and everything in your production. So, or is it a situation like it's one man that's going to film everything, and the money's all going in his pocket. He's a one-man band, and when they see how small his camera is or what camera he's got, they're like, "Why are we giving you so much?" Now, what I would say is, your CV talks for you. So, if you're not at a stage where I can watch your previous work. So if you're at a stage where I watch your previous work and I'm saying, wow, is this what you've done? When you turn up, I don't care what camera you've got. I've seen what you do with it. So I'm happy to give you your money, because I'm like, wow, I've seen what he does. So I was like, I'll be telling other people, don't worry about the camera. It's about the man behind it. Have you seen his work? And I'll be happy to give you that money. Now, what I would say is, if you don't have a CV that does that already, then you shouldn't be charging that much. Because if your work ain't in a position to talk for you yet, then you're still in a place where you've got to prove yourself and you're creating work. So when you get a job, be happy to take less money for it, because what that is you're creating your CV. They're giving you work to create that CV. So just go and do the job, but do it with excellence. So you add it to your CV. And then do your next job with excellence, add it to your CV. And then you're creating a portfolio. And then your portfolio, what you put out, is going to look so good that people are going to start calling you, demanding your services. And when they demand your services, when there's a demand, now you can put the price up. And no one can question your price.
100%.
Like me, as Muslim Belal, the poet, for the first 2 years, I didn't charge a penny. I was surprised. The first time I got paid was at an event in Luton. The guy gave me £25 for my petrol. And I was like, nah, it's okay. He was like, nah, take it. And I was like, nah, it's okay, £25. For 2 years, I'd been going around doing my poetry, doing events, no money. But what I'd done in those 2 years, I showed my worth and my value. And I built a reputation. So when those 2 years was finished, and I wanted to sit down and relax, and people said, "Oh, can we book you?" And I said, "No." They said, "We'll pay you 500," because now they knew what I'd done. I'd already sold. So I would definitely say, if someone's questioning you, because I don't look at a person's camera, I look at their work. If I've never seen your work, then I'm going to be looking at your camera guy. So what lenses have you got? What did that? Like, are you sure that that's going to do what I need it to do? But if I've seen your work, then I don't, because I know, listen, I might use Arris only. I don't even use a red. I use an Arri always, Cook lenses or K35. But I definitely know someone can come with a Sony A7 III and produce something cold. I know someone can come with a Canon, these different kind of Canons that they've got out. What's it called? The R5 or something? I don't know. Yeah. I've seen some images and I'm like, wow, what are you shooting that on?
Even now, like,
R5, and
even
I'm
now
like,
they're making films like out of like FX3s and like
So I know you can produce great stuff. It's all on your lenses, your lighting, your color palettes. So I don't question a person by their camera. It's about how you use it. It's about how you use it. So you could come to me with that small camera. If I've seen your work, then I'm going to believe in you.
100%.
It's more about your CV. So I would just say, honestly, don't put your price too high until you've got a CV that speaks for itself.
Yeah. So build
and then prior to that, build the portfolio. Build the portfolio. Do jobs for hardly anything.
Amazing points, bro. Bro, we've been going for an hour, man. I think, you know what, one thing I really took from you today, bro, and you know why, is the whole essence of value and people understanding your value, providing your value, and showing your value. So, bro, wallahi, man, it means a lot. You come on here and benefiting the people.
No, definitely.
Any final words you wanna get in there, bro?
I'd just say, like, when it comes to being a creative, there's no wrong or right. Like, no one can tell you, oh, that's not how to make a film, or that's not the right way. That's what creative is all about. You can't put a ceiling on it. Be creative. Think outside the box. That's the first thing. It's the same thing with writing scripts. There's no rules. Oh, you have to. Yes, a script should have an arc, a beginning, something that takes place, and then a justified ending. That's the arc. However, you can start your beginning at your end and do it. It's up to you how you want to do it. So there's no rules with being a creative. There's no limits. There's no ceiling. That's what it's about. Being creative, express yourself. But what I would say is, perfect your craft and take your time growing. Don't try and be, Spielberg straight away. Take your time growing. Build your CV. Don't put these big and stay in and know your intentions. Because when you're making a film or anything you're putting out there, it potentially can go to the eyes of thousands. So you've got to know your intentions first, because what are you putting it out there for them for? Are you just trying to entertain people, or do you want people to take something from it, to learn? So it's not just always about what we're doing. It's definitely about why are we doing it? Like, why do you want to be a creative, and why do you want to put stuff out there for people to see? And because the thing is with film, it's like, and anything like that, it lives on after you die. So it's out there. So the intention is very important, like, of what you're creating and why you're creating it. Is it just to make money? So that's what I would say is purify your intentions and know why you want to make films or why you're in this business, and perfect your craft. You can never stop learning. And don't let no one tell you that's not the right way to do it, or this is not the right way to do it.
100%. Jazakallah khair, bro, man.
No problem.
Bless us with your presence today, bro. Jazakallah khair, man. Appreciate it, man.
Alhamdulillah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks so much, bro.
All right, then, guys.
Yeah, bro. Inshallah, we can catch up in the future with the Muslim creatives. Once we've grown more, we've developed more. We need to somehow integrate, your experience and what you've done over the years, and to support the young brothers and sisters we've got in our chat. It's our first of many. Inshallah, you set a big.
I think you should put some challenges out. It's called Muslim creatives, because I'd love to see some of the things the Muslim creatives are creating. So maybe put some challenges out, like 30-minute short films, who can create the best one. And I'd
Yeah,
love
yeah.
to see some of the work
We
of
were
some of
speaking
these
about the whole
Muslim
producers, the
creators.
lack of producers, and you know, there's so many people like.
There's so many roles in film. That's one thing I would say. Everyone don't have to be DOP or director. There's so much role in film that we don't find enough of.
Yeah,
I always struggle to find producers. I always struggle to find editors. Like, so definitely, like there's positions like for many different roles, many different roles within film, for sure.
Jazakallah khair, bro, man. Well,
All
we'll
right,
catch you soon, and big
it's a
shout out to
pleasure.
everyone that took part in this today. And thank you guys for your questions. Those I didn't get answered, sorry, I took over a little bit because I had some questions of my own. So alhamdulillah, it was beautiful,
It's a
bro.
pleasure,
For your
guys.
time, and hopefully in the future we can get together and inshallah we can benefit some people, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, my
Definitely.
bro. Take care,
Take care,
inshallah.
yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.